here we are. Listen, guys, I don't even know if I should call this tea talks anymore because I've been drinking so much coffee. So much coffee. So this one is, I would think it'd be rough, but it's really not rough for me because I've learned to kind of just let shit go. So, but this one is still very close to a part of me. Like, I just don't talk about it anymore. Just don't feel the need. But I understand that actually a lot of people have been going through a lot of shit when it comes to marriages, divorces, separations, heartbreak, falling in and out of love, and the attachments to it, which I think are the biggest thing to focus on, is the attachments to these things. Now, I have been married before, and I don't really want to go into the details of my marriage, simply because I have a daughter with this person, and there are certain things I really don't want her knowing about just yet. And that I also just privacy kind of things. So it was very unhealthy. I will say that. It was very toxic, to say the least. I'm putting it very nicely. And, you know, I can't say that it shouldn't have happened, because it did. It needed to happen for me to learn a lot, and for Alel to be here, my daughter. So I got married young. I've been in relationships, not a whole lot, but they were all long term. And I used to be the person that would stay until my heart gave out. I had nothing to give. I was tired. I was worn. And I'm not like that anymore. The most recent relationship I had, which was a while back, I didn't stay. I didn't stay long enough to feel dead inside. You know what I mean? I didn't give so much. I had no interest in giving all of myself. For the sake of what? Saying that I did, you know, it's like I did do everything I could. So, you know, it just wasn't working. And if it's not working, it's just not working. If someone, you know, anyway. Let's just start with marriage. Actually, let me reverse that. Let's start with just relationships in general, long term, or just relationships that hit you home, first love, whatever. Now, I believe like each one of these are going to have everything about attachments. You know, you're going to have that love that, you know, kind of takes like catches you off guard, and you don't forget them. But, you know, I feel like these relationships are meant to be lessons. All relationships are meant to be lessons, and everybody is meant to be a teacher. But for some reason, and you know, everybody wants something so permanent in an ever-changing world. Now, I'm not saying that commitment isn't my thing, because it is. Super loyal, super committed. I probably have stayed way too long in certain relationships. But how do you differentiate between staying too long and, you know, knowing when it's a good time to go, or a good time to end it, or maybe they left you? A lot of things, you know, we have attachments to, and I think that's the dangerous thing. You know, I've seen couples who were just boyfriend and girlfriend, and they've been together for years and years and years, and one of them didn't want to get married, the other one wanted to get married. Nothing wrong with that. You want to get married, that's fine. And then it just, you know, I guess maybe they knew deep down they were just scared of committing to one person. I don't know. And they would go their separate ways. And then some couples think marriage is going to fix things, and when that doesn't fix things, they start to have kids, and that doesn't fix anything, and it's just a mess. And it's because of attachments. You have to know when to let go. I'm just going to share some of my personal experiences, and these are hard lessons. I wasn't always a person that's like, you know, just let it go. I'm not a person, I've never, I don't know, I can't relate to people who have fallen out of love, because love for me is very gradual and it intensifies. So if I choose a person, and I fall in love with them, my love is very constant. I've never fallen out of love with anybody. So I don't know what that feels like. So if that's something that you felt, feel free to leave a comment below. Let us know what it feels like. But I have had enough in relationships. There's only one relationship where someone actually left me, and then they we'll get to that. But personally, I have had trouble letting go when I needed to let go, and that includes when I was married. Usually, you know, like I said, I haven't had many relationships, but they were all long term. And I had trouble letting go because I didn't think I could find, you know, anyone better because I loved them so much. I also didn't feel worthy of love, so I didn't think that anyone would want me. I was also told by certain partners that no one would want me. Felt very devalued. There has been abuse in relationships, lots and lots of it, of every kind. You name it, it happened. Because of that low vibration, because of that inability to have boundaries, I was in situations where, you know, it was hard to leave because of the mental cycles that were in it. But also because I did love my partners, and I didn't know when to let go. Because no matter how much you love somebody, there's a certain point where you have to let it go. You have to let them go. And you have to let the relationship go, and all the attachments to all the perfection and ideas that you had about the relationship. You know, there's nothing wrong with telling someone you love them. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. And I feel like that's a huge fear in relationships. You know, it's like you call this person your person. They're your husband, they're your wife, they're your partner, they're this, they are that. And you put a label on them. And that's, you know, the thing is, it's okay. If there is nothing wrong with saying, this is my partner, this is my spouse, this is whoever they are to me, and being wrong. You're not wrong in the moment. You know, wrong is very loosely used right now. But people are so afraid of being wrong. They're like, oh, what if I call this person, what if I let everybody know that this person is my significant other, and then we don't stay together? And it's like, okay, it didn't work out. There's a difference, you know, if you're a person that is constantly with people because you can't be alone because of some kind of codependency, if you're, you know, going through people like clockwork, you know, if I can put a time on when you're going to be with someone new, and that's a problem. That's something different. This doesn't apply to you. Okay? That's a video in itself. But if you're a person that is cautious, or you are married, or you are in a relationship, and you're afraid of being wrong, so to speak, it's an illusion. It's all in your head. It's not factual. You know, you weren't wrong in the moment that you married that person. You weren't wrong in the moment that you chose to kind of announce that this is your human. You weren't in any way, you know, trying to deceive anybody in that moment, you know, unless someone wanted to slam a label on it and you didn't want to do that. If you genuinely, you know, that is ominous. Is that I don't know what that is. I'm going to ignore that. That's a big cat if it's a cat. Anyway, like, whoo, and that's across my road. Sorry, back on track. You weren't wrong. You know, if you were genuine in those moments where you were in love with the person, you have these memories with them, okay, it's your attachment to what are other people gonna think, usually, where it's like, Or I love this person so much, I can't imagine life without them. Codependency, expectation, attachment. This is my, let's just say twin flame or soulmate. I just did a video on that, just a tiny one, very, just like a synopsis. And, and you're like, I mean, but they were this person. Maybe they weren't. I think in relationships, we put so much on the other person and even on ourselves for it to be a certain way without recognizing how harmful it can be to put this on another person. Guys, I know that if you're religious, Christianity, okay, look, I know Jesus said something about, divorce. Now, he didn't say anything about homosexuality, but he did say something about divorce. Now, I know that said it was adultery and shit like that. But if you're like, look, everyone has dry spells, but do not waste someone's time by trying to act in love when you're not. Don't waste someone's time and energy making, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't feel for the person anymore, maybe a separation is what you need for the time being to figure out where you guys stand. I'm not against divorce one bit, and this is kind of a touchy subject for some people. Stay committed, figure out your shit, see if it's just like a mini crisis, do everything you can to see if it's coming from somewhere that can be fixed, because this is a person you loved enough to get married to. But then again, we do know that big cat. Anyway, we do know that people change over time. And I feel like getting married in your, like late teens, early 20s, personally, just from experience, is not the wisest decision. Your 20s, I feel, are like for mistakes and lessons and stuff. I mean, that can involve marriage. You're not a failure, if you get divorced, despite contrary to like popular belief. It's a learning experience. Now, let's say that doesn't work. Say you're miserable. You're making them miserable, you're like making your life miserable. Let's say this is a big one, okay? Like, I'm all about working on marriages, relationships. It doesn't matter if you're married or not. Work on it. Feel it out. Make sure it's a process and not just like a boom, no more flower shop. You know what I mean? Like, just go through the process. But if it involves abuse, number one, you have to recognize if you're being abused, and what you're going to do about it. If it involves abuse, if it involves, cheating, which is a form of abuse in itself as well, that is something completely different. I feel like what you will allow will continue. And if you are sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, if you're sitting there wondering why you're so upset and depressed and all this shit, and your spouse is abusive, they could be gaslighting you, it could be mental, emotional, physical, it could be all three, they could be cheating. I don't care. Pick one or pick it all. I don't give a shit. I feel like that's a time where you need to look on yourself and ask yourself why you're not leaving. And knowing what you're worth, and that this isn't what you thought it would be, and that's okay. Same applies to, just falling out of love. It's a subject that I know is touchy, because a lot of people are going to come at me, or other people saying, you got to stay committed. You know what? If you're stuck somewhere and you feel stuck, it ain't going to be good for anybody. Okay? Now, I'm not saying at the first sign of like, I'm not happy, man, like dart out the door. Like, let's not be an idiot. Okay, that's a big word. Let's not jump the gun. That's the thing we say around here. Let's not jump the gun on this. My point is, it's okay. It's painful, but it's okay. I've known families who have kids But because they decided to, they stayed together till the kids were all grown and fucked them up because of it. Because they taught their kids that marriage is loveless, marriage is a trap, and love isn't real. You know, there's so much, or parents that fight, you know, it's just, it weighs so much on a child's mind and each other's mind as just partners, you know. You got to know when it's healthy and when it's unhealthy, and you got to know when you're scared and when you're not scared, when you're staying out of comfort or you're staying because you actually love the person. And even if you do love the person, is it still healthy? It's such a complicated thing, but at the end of the day, it is okay to change your mind. It is okay. Everything will be okay if you allow it to be and detach from all these ideas. Like, let's say you actually get a divorce, you have a breakup, whatever, and you're attached to these ideas that like love sucks and that people suck, women suck, men are idiots, you know what I mean, and these horrible things. Detach yourself from that. Understand that this was a lesson and that it takes two to tango. Let's just say that, okay? Don't forget your part in this. And I'm not saying that if you were in an abusive situation that the abuse was your fault, because it's not. What is your responsibility is when you stay. Is when you don't give yourself a chance to work on yourself and love yourself. That is your responsibility. This is just a free talk, guys. This is a tea talk. I'm no therapist. I'm no psychologist. Speaking from personal experience and as well as just observation. Did take psychology. Like, I was going to be a psychologist, but anyway. I just know that a lot of the times it is so hard for us to just let shit go because we're so attached to these ideas. You know, it's hard for us to even open up to the thought of a relationship, marriage, kids, because we're so attached to these negative stories that we tell ourselves instead of just being open to just like whatever. Like, let's just live life, learn lessons, and just let it be. I'm kind of getting a message. This is weird because I'm not doing readings or anything right now. That there is somebody who is married, that their situation isn't necessarily bad. They're with a general, like, good person. That it looks perfect from the outside. But whoever you are, if you're watching this, you know, this is a message for somebody. That if you're feeling guilt because there is this aching feeling that it's time to move forward, it's time to move on, and you just feel like you can't, but you're miserable, don't feel guilty or embarrassed or worried about what people think. Do what you have to do for you. Like, I'm getting warmth like in my cheeks, so I know there's an embarrassment factor. There's a mask factor in this. Just know that you're not alone and that it's okay to move forward. Take steps. Don't feel guilty and don't be embarrassed. So now that's out of the way. But for the rest of you guys, I know what it's like to be afraid of taking the wrong step. I know the fear of the unknown. I know the attachment factor to whether it be a story in your head or the person themselves. But it's time that we quit putting our expectations on partners and on situations to somehow validate something within ourselves that need our own attention and love. And I feel like that's so important right now, that we learn to kind of go with life, go with the flow, and learn how to not attach to things along the way, and let life happen for us instead of looking at how life is happening to us, and learn our lessons, see everyone as a teacher, and love ourselves and forgive ourselves and accept these lessons that we can turn it into something beautiful. So guys, that is pretty much all I have to say about the whole attachments in marriage or any kind of relationship dynamic. That it's okay. If you're bitter about your parents' marriage, that's not you. Okay? My parents are divorced and I get it. But that's not you. If you are a divorcee or you're thinking about divorce, you got to do what's best for you. If you are attached to the thought of making everything perfect in your life, you need to let that shit go. It's going to eat you alive. If you're codependent, it's time to work on yourself and love yourself. I know it's not that simple. I know there's no simple answers. But what I can tell you is that you are worthy of love and a fulfilling life. And with that comes change. Lots and lots of change. And, man, I'm glad you guys just kind of let me go on these little rants. But at the same time, what they're meant to do is provoke thought within you. Now, I know that I didn't announce this in this time, but these tea talks usually have like a journal. And if you have your journals, for those of you who do keep a journal on these, what I really want you to reflect on, whether you're in a relationship or not. If you're not in a relationship, what stories are you attached to about relationships that you feel would not serve you or the other person if you were to get in one? A relationship of some kind. If you are in a relationship of any sort, kind of figure out where you stand on it, whether you've been you've clicked on this video for something, right? Figure out what's working for you, what's not. Weigh the pros and cons. Figure out where things are coming from and how to love yourself more and love this person more. Don't make them an enemy in your mind. Just know what you have to do for yourself. Okay? And because making someone out to be an enemy just so that you can detach from them is no way to be. And it's no way to go. You'd end up doing more harm than good. So I love you guys. Thanks for sitting with me today and having tea or coffee or whatever. And I will see you in the next videos.